Hey, Jason Collings here. Welcome back to this thing I'm doing. I'm calling it I Do Stand Up because that's all I want to talk about on this. I do stand up and that's what I want to talk about. I'm talking about my shows, frequently asked questions, how I come up with material, stories from the road, all that cool stuff. Thank you for all the support and positive feedback on the previous episode about my process of getting into the Comedy Store and what it takes and what I think it takes, you guys. That was really cool. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when a new one's coming at you. Speaking of the Comedy Store, I had a show there last night. I was on on the stage about 11 o'clock in the original room. A lot of fun. My brother came with me, a couple buddies of mine, Sam Hirschgold, very funny comedian, Blake Barty, my buddy, my neighbor, and my former neighbor and friend, Kyle. On my other podcast with Brent Moore, and I used to talk about neighbor Dave and Kyle, my buddy Kyle from next door. He's no longer next door, but we're still pals. They came out. We had a good time. Had a few hecklers getting removed right before I was getting on stage. A couple of girls were getting removed, and they were saying stupid things to the security guys, like, I don't know why you're kicking us out for laughing. No one's ever gotten kicked out of a comedy club for just laughing. You screwed up. You did something wrong, and they caught you. I had a couple of interruptions, heckles, if you want to call it that. When I was on stage, it was a couple of dates here on the left. It looked like a double date if I'm facing the audience to my left here. And they decided, a lot of times this happens. A joke will hit home with somebody while they're in the audience, but then they take that as their signal to now have a discussion about it with the people that they came to the club with. You could wait. We're going to talk about your previous joke about the French Bulldogs because we loved it. We're not going to wait till we get in the car or when we get home. So anyways, my French Bulldog, it's one of those kind of situations. And I scolded them like a father. I got my glasses crooked. I was like, you better stop it right now. I'm in the middle of my set. And they loved me. That's the interesting part. Got on their case. They got in trouble a little bit. They didn't get kicked out because they listened the first time. But it was this weird thing where she like, I love you afterwards. The girl like embraced me when I got off stage and whispered in my ear that she loved me. And she's on a freaking date. And so when I saw them later in the front bar, in the front bar there on the front patio of the Comedy Store, I made sure to engage the man she was with so he wasn't uncomfortable, because if that were me, I'd be like, what is this girl doing? Turns out it was her husband. You send me swinging. It was her husband. So I thanked him for being a good sport, and they were really nice people, actually. If they came in, they were in town for a few days from Toronto, Canada, and it was great. The reason I brought that up is I want to talk about two separate heckler stories that happened to me. People have asked me, what's the craziest heckle? Have you ever anybody try to fight you? Yes, that's a thing, but never during the show. You know, there's people that would say, like, you want to take it outside, or I'll see you outside after the show. And it never happens. This one time. So there's this club this was years ago. And there was a club in Scottsdale, Arizona called the Comedy Spot in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I used to headline that club a couple times a year. I don't know if it's around anymore, but a smaller club, nice setup. They had a great setup. Basically, when you walked into the club, you entered into this a really nice bar area with a long bar. And then through the bar at the other end, you went into another doorway, which was into the showroom. And what they would do is they would use this bar as like a holding room for when the first show was over, the second show crowd waited in here. And when that crowd let out, this crowd went in. So first show, I'm doing my thing. There's a really sweet couple in the front row, and they are having a blast. They're having the time of their lives. They're laughing at everything. They're laughing at setups. They were just so happy to be there. They're just great. They were great. They were the kind of audience members that you dream about. Like, just like everything I say. I'm extremely insecure. Like me. And they did. They liked me and everything I was saying, which was great. So that show's over. They go out the side door to leave so that the bar room can fill in for the second show. So after the first show, I went into the bar to have a drink between shows, and that couple was in there. And I'm like, what are you guys doing in here? And they're like, oh, we had such a great time that we bought tickets for the second show. Now, let me tell you how that feels as a comic. That's really sweet, but also, they're going to see the same stuff again. Because you have to understand, when we're on the road touring around and stuff, we're building and developing a set. We're working on our next hour or whatever it is for the next special or taping or whatever it is that we want to do. So you're working on building a set. So we're repeating a lot of the jokes the second show. So I told them, I go, you might get a lot of the same show. And they're like, we don't care. It was so funny. We'll laugh again just as much as we laughed the first time. And I was like, okay. I'm like, these people are awesome. So now remember, they were at the first show. But before the first show, they got there early and they were drinking. Then they get let into the show. Then there's the 2-drink minimum. And people that like to drink never just get 2. So they're drinking during that show. Then they get into this, then they get out of that show. And when they came into that bar to get ready to go to the second show, they're drinking at that bar. Then they get into the show and they're drinking again in the show. And remember, I'm headlining because I'm going on last. So by the time I hit the stage, these two are hammered. They are wasted, right? And they are too much. You know that young person, too much thing? Brent Morin does it when he does a bit about his brother. They're too much. They're laughing at all the wrong times. They're repeating jokes out loud. They're laughing at jokes from 3 jokes ago. It was extremely disruptive. How do you say that word? Disruptive. I don't know the word. I know what it's supposed to sound like, but it's not coming out of my mouth properly because brain don't work. So it's to the point where the people around them now are getting annoyed and upset because they bought tickets to see the show, not watch this hot mess that's happening next to it in the audience. And I'm signaling, I'm like to the security guys, let's go. You know what I mean? And they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything until it's way too late, to the point where I said, I had to physically say, hey, they have to leave. This is the couple that loved me so much they bought tickets to the second show. Now I'm asking them to remove them. They were so horrible. Like, they gotta go. And the guy goes, oh, we gotta go, bro. You suck anyways. You're a terrible comic. I heard these jokes on the first show. And I was like, I warned you. I told you that's what it was. But they were so wasted. And now they're being physically removed. Now, the guy, as they're pulling him, he looks back at me, gives me the finger, tells me I suck. Then really quickly, he grabs a full pint of beer that was on their table. And he's in the front row, remember. And he throws this full glass of beer right at my face. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a ninja. I know ninjutsu, okay? And that's not true. I know some martial arts, but not ninja. But my reflexes were so on point at the time, I was a lot younger, that when the beer came out my head, I did like the Matrix or whatever, and it hit the wall. And it literally hit dead center of the Comedy Club logo on the wall behind me. And in my mind, it was a slow motion. It went trickle, 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 right? But I was like, wow. And then, So yeah, they went from loving me to hating me so much to assaulting me with a full pint of beer. And I don't know if that would be considered assault with a deadly weapon. But yeah, that was one. That was very dangerous. And I'm glad that I have ninjutsu on my side to dodge the weapon coming full speed at my face. That sounded dirty. Heading full speed at my face. Another one. In LA, again, years ago, I'm at this club. At the time, it was called 3 Clubs. I think it's still called that. Yeah, it's called 3 Clubs. I'm at 3 Clubs before the remodel when it was just like a cave. And I'm doing the show, and there's a heckler, and you can tell he's drunk, but I can't see anything. See, a lot of you, what you don't realize is that when we're on stage, you can see us completely clear, and we can't see you because it's just spotlights in our face. So we can maybe see the first and second row, maybe, but usually it's just blank because of the spotlights in our face. So I could hear this guy heckling me, and I start going back at him, and we're having a back and forth. The next thing you know, an ice cube hits me right in my glasses lens. This guy took an ice cube out of his drink from the back row and throws it right at my face. And thank goodness I'm wearing these glasses. It hit my lens. But I was a lot younger at the time, and I was a little more hot-headed at the time, and I was still training and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm gonna kick this guy's ass after the show. I didn't say this out loud. I was like, I'm gonna wrap up my set in my head. I'm gonna wrap this set up, and I'm gonna go find this dude, and I'm gonna confront him and maybe break his arm, in my head. So good night, and I beeline it off the stage to the front because I saw that I knew that they had escorted him out. So I find him. He's outside. When I say this guy is 6'7", he was maybe 7 feet tall. This guy was a monster. And I walked out, I was like, in my head, oh, shit. this is the guy I got to confront now. Because I can't be like, hey, did you enjoy throwing the ice cube at me, sir? I didn't want to do that. I'm like, no. Hey, man, why'd you throw that ice cube at me? He's like, oh, so he was wasted. Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. It was my bad. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'm backing this dude down. And I'm not a big guy. But I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. You know how when things go your way, you're like, yeah, dude. You better be sorry. I'm like more like this. You better be sorry. And then I turn around to walk back into the club. And what I didn't know is that all the men in the audience followed me out and had my back. And they're all behind me like this. So I didn't back him down. Me and like 50 other dudes did. So I was like, oh, okay, that didn't go the way I wanted to. Funniest part is I show up the next week and he's the door guy. The guy that threw the ice cube at me is the door guy for the club. And I go, hey, do you remember me? He goes, no, I don't. Should I? I go, last week I was on stage and he finished the sentence. He goes, I threw an ice cube at you. I go, yeah. He goes, I'm so sorry. I have no memory of that. And then he was so funny. He goes, you have full permission to punch me in the face. And he killed it at that point. I was like, no, man, thank you. I didn't realize he was so wasted. But yeah, that was 2 times that my life was in danger because of a out of control heckler. Other than that, it's been pretty tame. Most of the places I perform these days, the security's pretty good about getting them out of there and keeping them away from the performers and that kind of thing. But all right, there's some stories of hecklers on the road here on I Do Stand Up. I do stand up, dude. Next episode, I'm going to talk about my show that I have tonight. If this comes out today, I will be in Hermosa Beach at the Comedy and Magic Club. I'm going to talk about that club on the next one of these. This thing I'm doing called I Do Stand Up and the process of me becoming a paid regular and a member of that club. Make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, rate it, review it, whatever you have to do. I kind of love doing these guys and I want to keep doing them. So I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.